Remember when you said, I always wanted to write this book, or you thought about publishing a book, and then you said, yeah, well, maybe it's just not me. And we need to talk about maybe it is you, but maybe it is you without knowing. And I have an expert exactly on that matter with me here today. Thank you very much for taking the time. Hello and welcome, Sierra Melcher.
Hi, Niels. Great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking the time, and we get straight into the topic. You probably heard of people who said, I thought about writing a book, but I don't have the education. I've never written anything that long. I don't have a platform. No one knows my name. I think it's not for me. And everyone else I see, they publish because they are so confident. And I am not one of these people who confidently stand out in the crowd. So maybe books are just not for me. And you now for a long time help people publishing their book. How do you make it happen?
So I hear a couple of questions in there. Everybody who's ever published a book has wrestled with all of those doubts and probably more. I know for a fact because I was one of those people.
Okay, here we are.
I got into publishing, but before that, I had 15 years of reasons why I shouldn't write. Nobody cares about what I have to say. Who am I? All of the stuff, whether it's logistical or emotional, there are obstacles laden throughout the path in the writing process, the publishing process, and onward. I'm not going to make it simple and say, well, just get over those things because it's not quite, that's just not fair, right?
Yeah. Because I
But
don't think it is easy. I know
no,
that publishing my first book was by far the most complicated thing. And from there, it became a lot easier once you understand how the game works. But publishing your
exactly.
first book is a huge step forward.
Exactly, because, but this is true about anything. We could be talking about rocket launches. Anytime you've never done anything before, it is impossible, overwhelming, intimidating. And then as soon as you know how, then you know how.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of, will you do it again? So, but I hear you asking something underneath all of that, because there are people who have amazing things to share and get stuck in any number one of any of these questions. The statistics are like 99% of the people who want to write a book will never write a book, and then only 7% of those people will actually have their book published,
Hmm.
which tells me there's a lot of people out there with the interest, the passion, and something worth sharing. And those are the people that I want to work with, because we're still hungry for stories. We're hungry for this piece of humanity that connects us all, and we're only getting access to a tiny little piece. So it's not simple. It's not well, just do this.
Hmm.
Roll out of bed on
And
the
you know,
left
there are
side
people
instead of
out
the right
there, there are people out there, often from vanity, what's it called? Vanity publishing
side.
agencies who say, oh, it's all very simple. You give us
Oh, no.
$25,000 and we publish your book. And what they get
Sure.
is, in my opinion, an AI written piece of
Mm.
basically recap of their LinkedIn profile, blown up into a massive ego project where they say,
Yeah.
look at this, and embarrassing themselves in public.
That's certainly an option. It's not one I encourage,
Neither do
because
I.
and you've done this, you've been through this process. A couple things happen. We look at people who have been published and see confidence. It is earned through going through the struggle of facing those doubts and fears in the writing process, wrestling with, what is it that I'm trying to say? Who am I trying to say it for? Who the hell am I to get to say it? And then how do I say it well?
Yeah.
Those are exercises. They are muscles that we build. There are ways through it. There are ways to navigate it. It's hard when we get stuck,
Hmm.
because then we're not doing the reps to build the strength and the comfort and the familiarity and the confidence in the writing process. But in a supported container with a guide, which is, I became a guide because I didn't have one. And I was like, that was hard. It shouldn't have been it didn't have to be that hard. If I had known this, this, and this, I could have done it easier. Now I've been published 18 times, written 4 solo books, published 64 books.
Wow.
And it becomes this like, oh, this is actually something that we can do. Um, the publishing process, once you have a manuscript, is also pretty repetitive. we need editing, we need formatting, we need a
Yeah.
cover, we need to set it up and print it and distribute it. It's very logical, but there's a lot of emotion that comes with both the writing process for the creator and the publishing process, which is if you go through those paces, if you do that work, the author becomes transformed.
Mm-hmm.
The person becomes transformed into an author.
Yeah.
Right? And that comfort, that confidence, and that credibility is earned. And that's part of the difference.
Mm.
$25,000 of a vanity press where everybody's doing the heavy lifting for you. Sure, you got the gold medal, but you didn't run in the Olympics. So it's like,
Yeah, and also I think especially when these books are ghost written, especially when you know
mm,
someone and you know someone personally, you quickly realize if it's written by them or not. Because when you know them, you hear their voice while you're
yep,
reading. And when you suddenly read something and think, that doesn't sound like you at all, you immediately know ghostwriting. So,
yeah. Which and there's some validity in having somebody help you write your book,
of course, of course.
right?
It's not immediately bad,
No,
but when your
time,
personality
energy,
is
and money.
completely taken
Yeah.
out of it.
For sure. And in the age of AI, this is becoming critical. And we're missing some of the value as from the writing standpoint. The author is not forced to become different. It's not hard enough. And then the reader misses something too. So it's sort of like fast food. It'll probably
Hmm.
keep you alive, but it'll maybe make you sick over time. Um,
Yeah,
so
it works for the moment, but not in the long run. So when it comes to publishing, what do you think? Because some people say, well, I heard about the self-publishing thing, but I also
yep,
heard about the publishers. I don't think
yep.
any publisher will ever listen to me. And when I do self-publishing, I
Mm,
feel like a bit like a second-class author,
yep,
despite the fact that we already have global proof that some global bestsellers basically
absolutely.
started as an unformatted PDF and went viral from there in
Yep,
self-publishing mode. So
yep.
what is your take on the publishing, self-publishing industry, which is an ongoing one?
For sure. And I don't think there's a single right answer for all people. If I told you that, then it would just be my sales pitch, right? And that's
Hmm.
just not fair.
Yeah.
So I always ask, what is your platform, right? If you already have an established following platform, certain number, then traditional publishers will be interested because for them, rightfully so, it's a straight numbers
Yeah.
game. Do you have a following? Can we sell X number of books to make this a business arrangement that works in our favor? If you do, and that's a path that you want to go down, then getting a literary agent and approaching a publisher is perfectly reasonable. I think most of us and most people who have a story in them don't fall into that camp yet, but could become someone in that camp by trying a different pathway the first couple of times and then building an audience, building a reputation,
Hmm.
going viral. No one's going to publish the ideas in your head if you don't tell anybody about them, and no one's going to just knock on your door and say, I think you have a bestseller in you. You do have to put it out there, which is the scary part. And this is why I love the 21st century, for all the drawbacks of technology, the multitude of self-publishing options. And I want to clarify, self-publishing, like you're doing all of it, you put it on Amazon yourself,
Hmm.
that is one definition of self-publishing. But then there's this whole spectrum of you still own the copyright, you own the royalties,
Yes.
maybe other people help you. That's still self-publishing. Um, and that we fall in between. Um, there's people who I say you should go self-publish where you do it all. If somebody has 4 or 5 books in them and they want to do it themselves and they're fascinated with formatting and want to manage a team to help them get their book out, that's the pathway. Um, but then there's companies that help close some of those gaps. So you get a high quality product that's actually edited in your own voice, that gets distributed properly. The title's not misspelled on the cover. I've seen it happen.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, I've seen it happen. The content's good, it's engaging. There's all the sort of the insider knowledge that you can miss. I mean, on a longer podcast, I'll tell you some of the mistakes that I made early on in my career. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I made that mistake because no one else will have to make it again. But it's really a matter of looking at your goals, who are you reaching, and what's the best pathway for you to do that in terms of energy and money investment, but also timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have something you want to share with people, some people, in the next year? Because that's another major distinguishing factor
Yeah.
is, do you want to wait 3 to 5 years to get your book into the world? Or do you want to get this book into the world and then build that momentum and then get something else into the world and then something else into the world? And 5 years from now, maybe get
Yeah.
that deal and have the Netflix series and the da 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 da
Yeah.
da. I think so many people on this list of why people don't write their books is because they're waiting for it to be ready, waiting for it to be perfect, waiting for
Yeah, it's the
things.
perfectionism trap. It's never the right time. Now there's something
No,
with family. Now I have
right.
to travel. Now,
So
there
the
we are.
perfection,
The art of
okay,
imperfect, perfect. That is the
okay. This
perfect
is my
title.
last book. Typo, The Art of Imperfect Creation is to do something because you can't improve on nothing. So even if you have to like make a mess, screw it up, how do you know where it needs to be fixed until you've tried? So,
Absolutely. Would you say that every story is worth being told in a book, or do you think that there are things where you just say that's just too thin, that doesn't carry a book in its length or in its validity to be published?
interesting. Every story. So you, before we hit record, we were just talking about all the different formats, right? And I think I might twist your question a little bit and say, I think everybody who hears this whisper of like, I want to share,
Mm-hmm.
has something worth sharing. That, which
Yeah.
is a major doubt most people have. So if you're doubting that you have something to share, it's probably because you have something to share.
Yeah.
There are people who don't hear the call. They don't have something to share. That's fine.
Yeah.
But if you're wondering if you have something, it's because you do. But the same question, sort of, what's the right publishing pathway? My other question is, what's the right format for this particular thing? Who is your audience? Where will they receive this message best? I am admittedly a fan of books
Mm-hmm.
because of
Of course. Yeah.
the transformational process that it has for the author, and because it's this timeless thing that once you create it, it creates a different level of credibility and visibility that a blog or a podcast or a YouTube video, the YouTube video may have a bigger reach, but it doesn't guarantee a bigger credibility boost, because books are hard.
Yeah, absolutely. So to wrap this interview up, if
Yeah.
someone now thinks, I might hear exactly that whisper, but I'm not quite confident, how can they reach out to you?
Absolutely. So I run Red Thread Publishing, and so we're at redthreadbooks.com, Red Thread Books on Instagram, sort of Red Thread Books everywhere. Love to talk to people about their book ideas, what the best pathway for them forward is, and how to get their message out into the world, connecting with the people who need them. It's what lights me up all day long. So I encourage people to reach out anytime.
Perfect. I think these are the perfect final words. When you now think, I hear this calling, then I think it's time to get in touch with Sierra. Sierra Melcher, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Niels.